Greetings, everybody. I've decided to start a little early this evening since there's quite a bit of stuff that I'd like to cover within the 15 to 30 minutes that we're going to be together. But first and foremost, I would like to thank every single one of you that sent their well wishes to me while I was in the emergency room. I went to the emergency room at 2 in the morning last night, going through all sorts of, I guess, physical, mental stress, fatigue. The weather's not helping. There's quite a bit of pressure on my mind and body, campaigning, and the overall political toxic environment that tends to take a toll on one's health, obviously. So I was at the emergency room for a good, I would say, 6 hours, maybe a little bit longer than that. Luckily, everything, was normal. My doctor obviously instructed me to lay low on the fatigue and overly exhausting myself, get enough sleep, which I haven't been getting, because this campaign season is really pretty intense, I would say. And I tried my very best to get as much signatures as I can, at 18 degrees Fahrenheit, weather outside, freezing, cold, you name it. I, still would go out and try to solicit signatures on top of other things that involves campaigning. I am very thankful for all the invitations to come in and speak. And as I mentioned previously, self-funding majority of my campaign. So if you guys would like for us to come and visit, please do consider helping us out by donating to our campaign. Or you can simply organize a virtual meeting. I typically do. I organize Facebook virtual town hall meetings twice a week. We started 2 weeks ago, so feel free to organize a virtual event and let me know, and I'll be more than happy to accommodate your schedule. So with that said, folks, I'm just going to give you a quick heads up on the state of our campaign. We're definitely attracting, all sorts of political perspectives and opinions from Democrats, Republicans, and Independents. Okay, folks, we're winning hearts and minds of the public as an underdog, very grassroots, no name really in politics campaign, but yet we're, connecting with the public, may it be in person or virtually, and I truly feel very fortunate that even though I can't quite connect with the public throughout the state in person, that some of them are still following us on our YouTube channel and our social media platforms. So thank you so much for your continued interest and support and learning about our platform. Okay, folks. So with that said, thank you once again for joining me on this live town hall Facebook meeting. Feel free to leave me a message, comment, text, whatever. I know most of you don't really join us on time anyway, so most of our viewers tend to watch the recording, which is fine. But as I mentioned previously, if you were to join us live, then we would have content to talk about. But we never run out of content. Most of you understand that I also have a podcast, Face Economics Podcast, on Amazon Music, Apple Music, and all podcasting platform. So I tend to talk about a bunch of things, mostly geopolitics, geoeconomics, foreign affairs, current events, the emerging of technology in market development and how it's being utilized worldwide, specifically social media, the utilization of the social media platform in economic development worldwide, a concept that I basically started when I was still a student at Liberty University and drafted a book that I published a couple years later. So, look us up. I started doing a lot of public outreach early on in my, college career, trying to promote certain concepts, ideas, and theories that I've tried to, work on and develop so that it could help the marketplace improve and increase capacity. All right, folks. So my passion is heavily vested in economic development. I love to support capacity building, job creation, investment, attracting and targeting destinations where to invest to. So that's my, career and professional background. I've written several books on, capacity building using social media and how certain disruptors are actually improving the marketplace using various technological advancement. But with this said, folks, we still need to be very mindful of the evildoers out there, the ones that are hiding behind the scenes, trying to basically wreak havoc and invade people's privacy and do a lot of harm, knowingly that they're doing harm to the public, and yet they do it anyway. So we need to be very mindful of those individuals, and we need to figure out how to basically prevent them and stop them and put them in behind bars if need be by violating public trust. All right, folks. Matter of fact, several years ago, I started talking about Mark Zuckerberg and how his platform basically ID'd the January 6th marchers that were basically arrested for exercising their freedom of speech and, basically marching around Capitol Hill. They never entered any of the public, not public, but the federal government buildings. Did they, supported those that did enter those federal buildings, because federal buildings are extremely sensitive security-wise, and you just don't barge into federal buildings. Trust me, I was a former federal government employee, and even when I would have my badge on me, it was pretty difficult to get into a federal government building, even though I did all my clearances. So imagine if you're just a regular civilian trying to break into a federal government building. So that's definitely a no-go. But yeah, anyway, I went public. No one would really support my call for the investigation of Mark Zuckerberg and holding him accountable for what he's done. And knowingly violated freedom of speech and silenced many political dissent candidates, individuals that does not, quite follow and subscribe to the narrative that they would like to influence the hearts and minds of the public. Most of them are, lump-sided. Mark Zuckerberg himself promoted a specific political agenda, which made, Meta and Facebook political apparatus. Okay, that's the exact definition of a political apparatus. So I called him out on it. No one paid attention to me, obviously. That's just, I don't know why that is. It seems to be becoming the norm when somebody that has the expertise and overall background were to say and object to questionable practices. The media, especially national media, does not cover, that individual, which is, I found it extremely strange, because you would think that they would want to protect the public, and the marketplace. But that isn't seems to be the case, unfortunately, folks. So anyway, I brought this up on my podcast, and I, just Google search Face Economics podcast. There's tons of stuff that I talked about on my podcast that very few people knows about. So anyway, I brought this case up, and nobody really, paid attention, unfortunately. So yeah. Anyway, what else did I want to talk to you guys about? So our campaign's definitely gaining traction, attention, and support. But we need more. We need volunteers. We need funds. We need people to go out there with me and recruit signatures. Trust me, I know what it feels like. Even if it's sub-zero temperature out there, I'm out recruiting signatures. You don't necessarily have to be out there with me, but I could show you where to go, where it's within, a building. So you're not going to be freezing out in the cold. But I've been through all of it. So don't think that I don't know what it feels like asking people to sign our petition, because I've been through all of them, in terms of environments and circumstances. So what else do I want to talk to you guys about? There's plenty of things that I really wanted to talk to you guys about. I just don't want to kind of rattle on just because I want to make our virtual town hall interesting. I want you guys to get to know me as a person, as a individual, and as a political candidate that you would want to support. But I am the most public out of every contestants, basically, in the primaries, maybe Democrat or Republican. So it's pretty easy to find me. Okay, you can just Google search my name, and everything's out there: the good, the bad, and the ugly. Some people say, what they want to say, but oh well. You know what? I'm not trying to put up a front. I'm sharing to the public or with the public who I am. And I hope other candidates would do the same thing. Sometimes you just have to take risks, folks. Trust me, the public would rather get to know you as a true person rather than a faker, rather than poser, rather than somebody that's trying to trick them to, believe in them, so that when they take office, just like any career politicians, they basically change to who they really are. Okay, folks, that's the typical modus operandi of career politicians. Trust me, I would know. I've been around career politicians since I was in high school. Okay, I would go up to Richmond at the General Assembly, meet up with all sorts of career politicians there when I was in high school. Okay, I was a part of an organization where they're, basically influencing the younger population to participate in civic duty and go to college, maybe liberal or conservative college. So that I was a part of that community when I was in high school, and it was also formed that to be mostly minorities. Okay, so which at that time I had no idea what the overall agenda of just having an organization purely consists of purely minorities. I don't subscribe to certain agendas that tends to divide our population, because we're already divided as it is. Our political environment in Virginia and in the country has gotten extremely toxic to the point that people can't even speak their minds anymore. This guy, young guy, very, intelligent, passionate, who loves his country, loves his family, loves his, church, was assassinated. Charlie Kirk, folks, was assassinated for simply sharing his beliefs. Now, why would anybody want to snuff out a young life like that for simply sharing his beliefs? All right, folks, I've heard all sorts of political school of thoughts. I mean, I've heard liberal, I've heard extremism, I've heard conservatism, I've heard it all. I've traveled around the world. I've heard quite a bit of narrative regarding political value systems, school of thoughts, philosophical opinions, worldview in politics, all of them should be heard. You can't just silence voices, folks. And yet it's happening in America. We used to fight this kind of stuff around the world when there's dictatorship, when there's tyranny, when there's oppression, when there's, oligarchs, communism, dictatorship, you name it. Even the monarchy, we fought. Okay? And now all that crap is showering American politics. Okay? American worldview and opinion. Okay, folks. So it's like we're now becoming the countries that we fought against. Okay, folks. And I would know. My parents left their home country. Okay, because they didn't like how things were, happening in their home countries. They've had enough of it. So they left. All right, folks. So please consider what I'm telling you. With this said, I'm not really sure how much longer I'm going to want to keep you guys on. I know most of you are interested in certain political positions and policy that I would be endorsing. So feel free to look those up on my YouTube channel, my Aldous Mina for U.S. Senate YouTube channel. I've started, basically unwrapping my political positions on my YouTube channel. So it's all individualized and itemized, so it'll be easier for you to kind of follow and listen, at your time and your leisure and your, heart's content. So they're all packaged and separated. But I will be adding more to it. And I'm just going to keep on using my social media platform to educate and influence and basically share myself with the public. Okay, folks, because I don't have millions and millions of dollars to travel and organize events that is well attended. Unfortunately, it's not that I don't want to. I just simply don't have the funds to do it. I've requested help from the public, especially from the Republican population of the state. I haven't really gotten a whole lot of support, or, maybe they're trying to feel me out. I don't know what it is, but it's okay. As long as I can connect with everyone, regardless of party, politics, and opinions, and engage them, especially the younger population. The younger population is so disfranchised, and they're so, tired and sick of all these political garbage, toxic that's going on around the state and even the country. And it's really not in the best interest of the Commonwealth of Virginia or the country to disenfranchise the younger population, because they're going to be our next decision makers, leaders, and politicians. So, why alienate them? Right, folks? But yet it's happening. There's this issue with gerrymandering in the state of Virginia. And I kind of understand the overall ramification of it, because I do know a politician who helped me, and his district was gerrymandered because he was helping me, and he no longer is the office holder in his district, because he was calibrated, reline, or redistrict, whatever you want to call it. And so now it's almost impossible for him to hold office in that district, because he's not going to have the majority of the votes anymore. And so I don't know if gerrymandering is a good idea. Excuse me. I think there should be a mixed bag of, political districts in which people could feel at home with. If we wanted a monarchy, then we wouldn't have, pushed back against, the crown. And it seems to me that the monarchy is being brought back 250 years later. All right, folks, imagine that. It only took 250 years to bring, these kinds of political agendas into the Commonwealth, into the Virginia marketplace, in which there's going to be a one-party system, which is not a good thing. Never is a good thing. You always want to have dissent. You always want to have, other opinions, listen to, perspectives from different sides. You don't want to silence your opponents. You do not want to, stonewall your enemies. It's not healthy. You know what, folks? I know there's a lot of people that don't like me. I don't want them to be silenced. I don't want them to be, singled out. I don't want them to be ostracized for not agreeing with me, because I'm not always right. I'm not perfect. I'm just human, just like everybody else. So why even pretend? Okay, folks. Politicians, nowadays think that they're, the demigods or beyond reproach, or, the higher superior authority within the land. No, you're a public servant, first of all. That means you answer to the public, because that's what you wanted to be. When we hired you, you said you want to serve us. We're not here to serve you as the politician, because if we did serve you, then you'll be a monarch. Okay, you'd have rule and reign over the population and basically dictate to them, everything that you want them to abide by. Okay, folks. So we not in a society like America. America's always been that country where dissent is allowed and people can disagree, and it's actually promoted. People should share their opinions and thoughts, even if it's disjointed, or if it's something that is not popular. Okay, look at what happened to Abraham Lincoln, for example. Many people disagreed with him when he decided to emancipate the slaves within the country. Okay, he wasn't the most popular politician back then, but yet he did it anyway. Okay, a lot of people within U.S. history and even around the world weren't supported, weren't seen as the superstar, this favorite in their political, arena. But yet they're the ones that are most talked about long after they're gone, ages, centuries later. George Washington was so hated by so many people, but yet, till to this day, he's still revered as, the very best president of the country. And we still celebrate President's Day because of George Washington. Okay? So don't be, fooled by the hype. Political hype is political garbage, and political garbage is toxic, because money talks in a toxic environment. Political, in political environments that are well funded by millions and millions of dollars are the most toxic environment there is. And guess what? So many people in the state of Virginia and throughout the country are being suffocated by corrupt career politicians. Okay, folks, you want politicians that will show you that they're just like you. They're human beings. That's the kind of politicians you want to have, because you can identify with their struggles. You know what it's like not to have money in your pocket. You know what it's like to be behind on your mortgage payment. You know what it's like having to make car payments every month. You know what it's like not having enough for groceries. You know what it's like to work for people and for organizations that you hate. That's the real person, life, and overall experience. Okay, folks, you don't want a politician that would give you all these nice, calibrated and pre-scripted and prefabricated, pre-edited, life story of who they are. Okay, folks. Yes, I go to these websites of politicians, and it looks, oh, well, this person is a summa cum laude. This person is a multi-billionaire. This person is parted the Red Sea. Trust me, folks. No, most people want to connect with someone that is just like them. Okay, because we need to feel and we need to understand that our politicians will be there to service us, to help us if we need them. For example, me myself is a perfect example. I wrote letters upon letters to people at the White House, called them up, asked for their help, intervention, support, you name it, aid, relief, justice. Have I gotten any, response? No. Okay. Because I'm not their priority. Okay. And most regular people are not the priority of our, politicians. Their priority is substantially different from the regular person's priority. The reason for that is because they have to operate in tandem with their political party's agenda. Okay? And they're not interested in, servicing, just a regular person out there that's been discriminated against, who's, been institutionally attacked racial-wise, and civil rights have been violated and human rights ignored. Okay? Very few politicians would want to support that kind of challenges and advocate for those, for justice for those kinds of individuals, because most of them don't see it as something that would keep them in power. Okay? So the number one agenda of most politicians is to remain in power. Okay, folks, be popular. Okay? And they will do anything and everything to try to trick you. Once they are in office and they're career politicians, they know how to trick the public because they talk with other politicians. They consult with each other. They talk about certain strategies to keep their power, to keep you at the, bottom of the battle. Where you're going to be the servant to their agenda. All right, folks. All right, I think I've pretty much covered everything that I wanted to talk to you guys about. Please do share with me your thoughts and, messages, whatever it is that you would like for me to cover on our next virtual town hall. We have another one coming up this Saturday at 8 o'clock. Please consider joining us and be there on the same time that I'm on. And we can have an exchange. All right, folks. I'd love to talk with the public. To be honest, I'm not really much of a talker. I'm not much of a public person. It's just that I've come to terms that in order for me to share my agenda and ideas with the public, I have to, force myself and train myself and basically like to want to have to talk in public. So I apologize if I don't sound like a typical career politician, because guess what, folks, I'm not, nor do I want to be one. I simply just want to serve and make things better for our fellow Virginians and for our fellow Americans. If they consider my proposition, my value proposition, great. If not, it's not going to hurt my feelings. I will still support the Republican nominee, whoever that might be, and I will still support building our capacity as a state and country, because that's the right thing to do. Even though I'm not getting the support from anybody that I thought would support me. But guess what? I'm getting support from various people from various, political parties. There's some Democrats that told me that they will support me. There were some independents that told me that they will support me, and Republicans also. But majority of the Republicans, I don't know why they don't like me or they don't want to support me. But that's okay too. Support whoever you believe in. All right, folks. My value proposition is I've been from the bottom to the top, and I know what a common Virginian and American have had to deal with. I come from a legal immigrant population family that had to wait almost 10 years to be even allowed to come to America. I know what it's like to be a college student with not having any money to pay for matriculation. I know what it's like to serve my country overseas, making $200 per month for 28 months, and return to America, work for the government, and be discriminated against and civil rights violated, and be subjected to institutional racism. So I have all these experiences. I have also have experience of what it's like to build my own capacity and business. I've supported economic development in various emerging and frontier markets worldwide, and even in the U.S. market, which is a pretty powerful and strong, wealthy country. So I've had public service. I have a private, private sector experience. I have, foreign policy background, public diplomacy experience. So that's what I bring to the table. And on top of that, I've written several books on the evolution of the New World marketplace, the globalization of economics, using artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, social media. Things that we need to pay very, very close attention to from the year 2026 on to the year 2056 or beyond even. Okay, folks, majority of my value proposition is well into the 250 years ahead, not the 250 years in the past. So that's my value proposition. I'm not going to be talking about or specifically address issues and things that I did in the past, because what I promote is what I can do in the future. And I think you can surmise that based off of my overall capacity and experience, professional experience, and things that I've written. You can go to our social media platform. You can go to my YouTube channel. I'm very transparent, folks. It's not like I'm putting up a front. I'm not, trying to put on a show for you, because I am who I am, and most people know that. I'm pretty transparent. With that said, folks, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Aldous, Mina for U.S. Senate. Thank you so much for your continued support. Please consider volunteering, donating to our campaign, and helping us recruit signatures. With this said, till we meet again, take care. Bye-bye.